We have to record.
Hello and welcome back to the Creating Value Alliance web series part 2. I'm Harmeet Kaur, member of Creating Value Alliance, career and college counselor from Bangalore, India, and your host for this series. The Creating Value Alliance is a forum designed to help executives, leaders, and their companies grow professionally by creating greater value for their customers and organizations. The knowledge and experience of our experts is vast, and through this web series, we aim to give you a taste of that ocean of wisdom. In part 1, we heard Gautam Mahajan, the founder of Creating Value Alliance and the Customer Value Foundation, and a world leader in creating value. He spoke about the broad concept of creating value. Today, in part 2, we are delighted to welcome Dr. Amrita Das to talk about creating value in education. Welcome, Dr. Amrita.
Thank you. Delighted to join you for this second edition of your web series. It's an honor, it's a privilege. Thank you, Harmeet.
Thank you. And before I start asking you questions around creating value, give me a few seconds to introduce you. I know I won't do justice to your huge experience and knowledge, but allow me some time. Dr. Amrita Das is a globally renowned educationist, career consultant, and thought leader. She established the Institute for Career Studies, ICS, in 1985, pioneering career counseling and guidance services in India. Proud recipient of the prestigious Time Group Award for Excellence, ICS, led by its distinguished team of experts, has revolutionized access to career guidance by reaching the unreached through its cutting-edge ICS Career GPS app. Dr. Das serves on the governing boards of several schools and institutions. She is also a member of the National Education Policy Committee, Uttar Pradesh, India. A globally recognized speaker and a resource person, she has delivered talks in many international conferences, UN summits, and universities across the world. She began her association with the Creating Value Alliance in 2022, presenting a paper at the 5th Global Conference in Kanazawa, Japan. The following year, she delivered a talk on her innovative concept, value-dominant learning, at the conference in Maryland. This October, she will chair the session on making creating value essential in education at the 7th Global Conference, Sao Paulo. Her contributions has earned her numerous awards, including the TCS Women Achievers Award. She has featured in the 32nd edition of the Who's Who's in the World 2015 and on the cover of CEO Insights magazine 2020 as a trailblazer guiding the nation towards an enlightened destiny. So again, I welcome you, Dr. Amrita, and start with our first. And we start with our first question. What is the significance of creating value in schools?
Creating value in schools has a huge significance because in my few years of association with the Creating Value Alliance, I realized that a lot of work is being done in this field with industry, with business organizations, but nothing at the level of school education. So we are looking at the branches, but ignoring the roots. It is those who are in school today, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, who are going to be the leaders and professionals in a few years. And unless they understand and embrace what value creation is, specifically in today's context with disruptive quantum leaps in artificial intelligence, wherein we are witnessing extraordinary times, we will not be able to really catch that moment. As Klaus Schwab said, he's the founder of the World Economic Forum. We are at the juncture from where we can move towards great promise or great peril. And we have to move towards great promise by ensuring a human-centric approach. So we have phenomenal opportunities to achieve the unimaginable. According to the futurist Yuval Noah Harari, I quote, "Tech can help you a lot. However, if it gains too much power over your life, you might become hostage to its agenda." Now, isn't that scary? And it can become a possibility with artificial general intelligence and singularity getting unleashed in the next few decades. So we have to outsmart smart technology, keeping in mind the well-being of humanity. So tech can be constructive and destructive. It can demonize or humanize. So it is in this context that we are called upon to reimagine the education ecosystem with its global multi-stakeholder community for a critical reset embedded in value creation. The overarching vision is to harness the power of technology for unlocking limitless possibilities, drive meaningful human-centric innovation, and shape our future, looking at the well-being of all. And I think well-being of all is a very, very important ideal or goal of value creation. So we have to shape our future through sustainable, transformative advancements for the benefit and well-being of all humanity. Here I'd like to quote what my grandmother, Dr. Constance Premnath Das, said in 1940 while she was the principal of the famous Isabella Thoburn College. And this has a lot of relevance today. She said, real development lies in the intangibles of education. Education must develop character, lead to the highest all-round development of which the individual is capable, to live the abundant life, to step out on the path of progress.
Absolutely.
So keeping all this in mind, I felt that we have to now look at making value creation imperative in the school systems, right from K-12 to college to university. As Victor Hugo said years ago, there's no force in history more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And this is very, very urgent. It's like it's now or never.
Yeah,
So
I
we
think
have to.
that thought is very, I mean, starting with value, with the roots, with the branches, right? And giving more, it's like a guiding light. And I think in this space, you have also developed the value dominant learning. Please define that concept for us.
I look forward to defining it, and I would love lots of educators and others to join in during this entire shaping of the concept because it connects with all stakeholders. So as we know, the foundation of value creation is values, which is honesty, integrity, fairness, justice, compassion, kindness, helpfulness. This is the foundation for what value creation and value dominant learning. Values create value. So when we are talking about value dominant learning, we have to embed it in these values, which are absolutely in a kind of a mess today when it comes to following them, accepting them, leading a principle-centered life. And it is impacting society across the world. So Value dominant learning then breaks away from the stereotypical approaches to education and careers. Moreover, it emphasizes high touch before high tech, the human touch, the personal touch, emotional intelligence before artificial intelligence, human-centered before tech-driven. So if students are within an educational ecosystem, which is embedded in values and value creation, they will understand how to outsmart smart technologies that are destructive, that are not human-centered. So value-dominant learning, therefore, provides opportunities for individuals to become the best versions of themselves, more knowledgeable. And with knowledge, you can move to wisdom, aware and responsible. So wiser, nobler, abler, more creative and productive, champions of sustainable development.
Yes.
So this is the essence.
Yeah, and I believe that when it gets integrated into the education system, the features will become actually actionable, the application of the value dominant learning, right? So
How
help
well
us,
said. Absolutely.
yeah, help us understand that.
So first and foremost, education has to be student-centric. And student has to be the center of the teaching learning process to make it more relevant and engaging and to bring out the best in each student. In fact, we need to fine-tune learning to the unique frequency of each student to bring out the best in him or her. Secondly, education should be about value co-creation. It shouldn't just be about somebody delivering information and theories. It should be about discussion, projects, interaction, collaboration between educators and students. And here I would say, we need to include students and parents in the educational management system because they are two important stakeholders. Otherwise,
Stakeholders,
it becomes
absolutely.
one-sided. And we need to also have students in the curriculum design process. Gen Z is brilliant. They are very aware of what works and what doesn't work when it comes to making them future ready. Years ago, when I was invited to Ireland for a conference, I was very interested to learn that when Ireland was developing its new education policy, it had a large number of students from all schools participating in it. So student participation with regard to their own learning and learning outcomes is so important.
Absolutely.
I was on the board of Woodstock School, Missouri, and Woodstock School has a best practice, which I would like all schools to have. The head girl and head boy are ex officio members of the Board of Governors. And I found that their insights were very helpful in guiding us to make decisions regarding them, whether it was about their curriculum, extracurricular activities, or pastoral care. So it's important to keep that in mind as well. And ICS has always involved students, and I have found it very effective. So some years ago, I convened a roundtable for principals in North Valley School, Aurangabad. So we had about 20 to 30 educationers, principals, but students as well. And at the end of the 2 days, with the help of the students, we prepared guidelines for the Government of India, which was inviting suggestions for the national education policy.
Wonderful.
And many of these were accepted. So student participation as important stakeholders is a must, and it rarely happens. Then real world application is important. Innovation hubs in schools. Students are very creative. They have ideas. And the innovation hubs should bring students from different subject combinations to ideate. And what is happening in these innovation hubs is phenomenal. Value is being created. Now, if we link this with industry, and if there's an industry, we have a backward and forward linkage, can you imagine how much more value will be created? So, for example, a student of grade 11 created an app called Roshni, and this was to test the eyes of people in rural areas to find whether they have cataract or not.
Absolutely.
And the National Health Mission, with a technology team, helped him. This was an amazing innovation. Another student developed the Star in Me audiovisual digital library, which is, her name is Tarani Kapoor, and this has really reached the unreached. So, I call it the power of now. And we are missing it in schools. We are missing the fact that because of the access to technology, students today have immense potential and talent, which can be utilized and showcased. And this is value which is being lost. So students can be authors, and they are authors today, scientists, inventors, entrepreneurs, social media experts, influencers. Uh, they can be designers and so on. That's the power of now.
Yeah.
So give them opportunities to start their journeys along with education today, because otherwise we are going to lose out a lot. So these are some very
Yeah.
important points.
No, very well. It's important that student is the center of all this value creation, because they are going to take it forward to the world when they get into the
Yes.
work environment or become entrepreneurs and innovators. One last
Then-
piece of your thoughts on how is it looked at by the educators?
Oh, the educators are thrilled to be able to gain a deeper understanding as well as techniques on how to work with students in a way that it's co-creation, where it's student-centric. So there are many techniques, and I've been doing programs on value-dominant learning across the country. And the faculty members participate, but we also bring in students. So what happens then is that, keeping in mind the whole concept of student-centric learning, innovation, creativity, development of employability skills, which are within 6 quotients of intelligence and tech quotient, which is a given, but adding to that social, emotional, creative, and spiritual. And how do you integrate all of it? How do we unleash the talent of students? And when you see it happening, when you see students thriving, you get that aha moment, the wow, that my students are doing well. So the teachers are enjoying this whole collaborative effort. And it's very rewarding to find that the students are engaged and they are doing well. So what is happening now is, in all the schools where I have conducted these programs, which are extremely participatory, and they're co-created by teachers as well as students.
That's where the real value lies.
Yes, the real value. So what you have then is a completely new approach embedded in value dominant learning.
Value dominant learning. Yes.
Yes, it's
Oh,
embedded in it.
yes.
So what is also happening is that there are other stakeholders. So there are going to be enormous benefits beyond the student and the teacher, saying parents. We found that parents want the best for their children,
Absolutely.
but oftentimes they're not aware of all the changes that have happened. So when it comes, for example, for subject choices, they kind of put pressure on their children to take up the sciences. If not the sciences, then commerce, group of subjects, and humanities is relegated to the third position. Now, when parents realize that the national education policy has mandated an interdisciplinary approach, and it has done away with the silos of art, science, commerce streams, and they realize the importance of it for the future, they're supportive of the school, they're supportive of their children. So parents have to be kept informed, and they're more than happy to support their children to not follow a linear career path, to allow them to be prepared according to future trends rather than the past. So the linear path, which still exists, which still prevails, is physics, chemistry, math equals engineering and technology,
Yeah.
not science, not science. When science today is driving technology. So it's science and technology. Physics, chemistry, biology, medical, but again, not scientific research. Commerce equals management or accountancy, nothing beyond that. So non-linear paths, which are very, very relevant, are understood by parents now when they're engaged in this entire process, and their support is important. So it leads to a more meaningful engagement
Well,
between
that's where the
parents
real
and
value dominant learning happens
yes,
when knowledge is just a click away. The role
yes,
of we as educators as well as parents is becomes as facilitators and bring that whole ecosystem of how a student can create value for oneself as well as for the institution and the society at large.
absolutely. So what then happens is also a sense of community and belonging. Now,
Absolutely.
you said society, very important point. So at the end of it all, society benefits collectively. It's an important stakeholder because there's civic engagement. Students are more philanthropic in their attitude. They're looking at the environment and sustainable development. So they also are engaging for the good of all. They become active members and citizens of a society
Society.
that believes in the good and well-being of all. So
What a
society also benefits in another important way, which I want to highlight here. If we were to take what's happening in India, 85% of students with degrees are unemployed or underemployed. It was shocking to learn that 8,000 graduates of the prestigious IITs in India were without jobs, thousands from the IIMs. So if this is happening at the level of the premier institutions in the country, you can imagine that there is a problem. The problem is that there's a big gap between what the schools are preparing the students for and what is required by organization and industry. There's a huge gap between the professional and the skill requirements. So that
Yes, Dr. Amrita. I think uh, was very well connected to the value of schools for students, for educators. Help us put this bundle together.
So essentially, value dominant learning is essential today to help our students to be future ready and to empower them to be able to play a very meaningful role in society. Also, it is important to provide a very strong link between schools and colleges and institutions, that is, industry and business organizations, so that those gaps are filled. Because it's not that there's a dearth of jobs, there is a requirement, but we are not aware of it. So, what could be a demographic dividend is becoming a demographic disaster.
Disaster. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so the pursuit of perpetual value creation by implementing value dominant learning, I feel, is the mantra for times to come.
Wonderful. Very well said. I think I don't have words beyond this. I should not say that because you have beautifully summarized that how value can be created in the best interest of the learner through education. Yeah.
And for the well-being of society,
And
for all
for the bigger
stakeholders.
objective.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we were missing, it was a missing link.
Absolutely.
So we've got to really expedite our work in this sector.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Amrita. It was an insightful session for all of us to hear you, the vast knowledge that you bring in. And I know we can go on and on with listening to you to connect the dots. But I will stop here and we will come back to you for another round of session talking about in greater depth in this area. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you for the excellent coordination of the session, for so beautifully leading this entire discussion through your questions. It was an immense pleasure. You got me thinking. It was very thought-provoking. Thank you.
Thank you.